let's talk about the future of DPRK Athletics. My name is Yong, and if you're looking for a more short version of this video, basically, we're not going to be doing day-to-day coverage of international events anymore. Instead, we're going to focus on deep dives, athlete profiles, and kind of doing roundups of what happened at international events to kind of put them in a broader context, but we're no longer going to be doing day-to-day stuff. Anyway, there's a long version. I welcome you to sit along with me. We are here in a casual setting here in my living room. And I hope you'll stay with me because my name is Yong and this is DPRK Athletics.
Part 1. Who am I?
So this video is going to be a little bit more off the cuff. It's not going to be super, official and scripted like I do most of my videos. I kind of have a few bullet points. We're just going to go down the line, and I kind of want to give more of a natural feel to my channel so that people can kind of understand who I am, what I'm about, and what I'm trying to bring to this space on YouTube. So who am I? My name is Yong Hong. I am primarily an academic. My academic background is primarily here in the Republic of Korea, South Korea. Right now, I'm finishing up my doctorate. I have about a year left on my doctorate at the University of North Korean Studies. It's true, it is a university here in Seoul dedicated exclusively to North Korean studies, the only one like it in the world. I have a master's degree in North Korean studies from Korea University, which is one of the SKY big universities here in South Korea. I also have an undergraduate degree in unification, diplomacy, and security, but what that really means is a focus on North Korean studies. So all of my academic background is in North Korean studies, and my theses have been on North Korean basketball, North Korean football. So I feel that I'm uniquely qualified to kind of talk about these events. And also, I have a background with the DPRK itself. It's not as deep as like being from there or anything, but I've been to the DPRK twice. Once I went in 2012. It was a 1-week trip. We went basically around the sites of Pyongyang. We went to Kaesong. We went to the border. I went once in 2017. It was more of a language program. I learned the very basics of the Korean language then. Beyond that, I've met many people, citizens of the DPRK outside of the DPRK in unofficial contexts. I've met defectors from the DPRK. I've met professors who've spent their whole life studying the DPRK. So I feel that I do have a great familiarity with the country. I'm very much into the DPRK culture, the music. And so because of my cultural and academic familiarity with this country, I feel I have something to give there. And I also have a background in sports journalism. Before I started my academic career, I was actually a sports journalist. I ran a site that was affiliated with Vox Media. It was basically covering the Oklahoma City Thunder of the NBA, and I ran that for 7 years straight out of high school. And the reason I left that field is because I felt I wanted a little bit more. I wanted to get more into the analysis and the history, and that was kind of more of what's just constantly keeping up with what's happening currently. And people who know about the NBA, they're so encyclopedic and it's kind of easy to get knowledge about it. Whereas the DPRK, you've really got to dig down, know the sources, have a particular set of skills to really kind of understand what's going on behind the, veneer, so to speak. So that's kind of my background. I feel I have academic skills, I have sports journalism skills, and I have a little bit of familiarity with the DPRK. So I hope that kind of explains to you kind of what my ethos is or who I am what I'm trying to do when I start this channel.
Part 2. My goals with DPRK Athletics.
So what's my goal with the DPRK Athletics channel? My goal is to bring all of the knowledge that I've learned about the DPRK and DPRK Athletics to the world. I want people who want to know more about DPRK Athletics to kind of have a starting point at my channel, maybe kind of get interested in it, kind of learn the real history behind it, not just kind of fall for the propaganda from one side or the other, just really dig down into the facts and the analysis and kind of come out with a broader understanding of what's going on. And like I think as academics, like our audience tends to be very limited because if you write an article for a journal, only a handful of people are really going to read that. Only some real specialists, some people who are really digging through these academic journal libraries that are just like all buried at universities, not accessible to the general public. If you go out and give speeches at a university, or even if you go to an academic conference, again, your audience is so small. And while I feel that some of that is necessary to stay alive as an academic, I also feel that it's important to really get out of that and kind of talk to the general public, interact with them, and learn from them. And those are some of my other goals with DPRK Athletics, is that I want to learn more about something that wouldn't necessarily be able to be covered in an academic journal. Like I want to learn more about baseball in the DPRK. I want to learn more about wrestling, weightlifting, artistic gymnastics, basically all the different disciplines and how they've all started and ended, and just kind of get or watch more DPRK athletic movies. Just anything to kind of learn more about the knowledge and kind of push me to keep learning, because you can get burned out a little bit, but I think that having this channel really gives me a motivation and a trigger to push forward with that. The third thing I want to do with this channel is I want to keep apprised of the latest developments, because I think that's really important. And it's kind of weird in this day and age to say like, oh, we kind of need a news source about something, because news is just so ever present, right? But when it comes to the DPRK, the DPRK does not announce like what sporting events they're going to. They just don't. You can look at, there's a DPRK sports website. There's KCNA, there's the Rodong Shinmun. Anything that you can access from abroad, or even in a South Korean library, so to speak, they never say when people are going to an event. Sometimes they don't even announce when people have come back from an event. So like they go participate at the whatever, like Asian diving championships. They're only going to say something if they win enough medals. So for like example, I was looking through all of the DPRK news and I couldn't find anything about them going to the BRICS games. I would have had to have been following the BRICS games. So I think that this channel will kind of really give me the motivation to kind of learn about all of the different international meets that the DPRK goes to, and be able to kind of track like where they're sending athletes, why they're sending athletes, and also hopefully get help from the audience. And we'll talk a little bit about that later, from you guys, so that we can all kind of make this a little bit more of a collaborative project.
Part 3. What happened at the 2025 World Aquatics Championships?
And so this is a question that, might not be important going forward, but I think a lot of you are really wondering what happened at the 2025 World Aquatics Championships in Singapore, because this whole channel was started to cover that event. I made a whole bunch of historical deep dives, profiles. I went to the event, I did some on-site reporting, and then all of a sudden, all of my on-site reporting was deleted. And I announced I was stopping coverage, and I wrote a little bit in the text post about that, but I'll let you know what happened specifically. So I got the press credential, I went out to Singapore, I got all set up, and basically I went to all the events that the DPRK was at. I tried to interview the athletes when they went to the mixed zone. I said hi to them, but they were very shy, understandably. I didn't want to push them. I didn't even try to say, hey, please come for an interview. I basically just said, good job, you did a great job, and I just waved to them and they waved to the camera. That was it. I would sit at the press tribune and I would record the DPRK athletes doing the events, as you might have seen in some of the other videos if you were watching the channel at that time. But eventually, in the middle of a diving event. So I had filmed a diving event, I was editing it, I was about 45 minutes to go to the next event. I was trying to get this video out about this event before the next one. I was in the middle of working. This official from World Aquatics comes up from behind me, and then she said, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt you, can I see your credential? And so I show it to her, and then she says, you don't have the right to film anything, anything at all. Even in the mixed zones, you cannot film any video at these venues. And I was just totally shocked. It's just, I tried confirming it with her. It was just like, can I take a still photo? She said, okay, you can take still photos, but no videos whatsoever. And so, I went down, tried to talk to some other staff. They told me the exact same thing. And I mean, I was just devastated. Long story short, I left the venue and I left Singapore later that day just because I understood like there wasn't much for me to do there because it's like I can't uh, interview any of the athletes. I can't take any videos. And I think the videos were really a big part of why I was there. And so I was just like, I might as well be watching this at home. And at the end of the day, they're a big international organization. They're going to do what they want. If they want to make their videos so exclusive that only big international press agencies can afford it, then that's on them. I personally feel that if you had more independent producers going there like me, making smaller videos and clips, it doesn't hurt the rights holders, and it also gives them more exposure because everybody needs exposure. But at the end of the day, I have to play by their rules. And there just wasn't enough of an incentive for me to be there and continue covering the event. And I didn't want to have to go back through all of the previous footage I had shot and just make it all still photos and then re-upload it again. I felt that, the moment was lost because, I had been there for a week and everything that I had covered up to that point, if I just republished it, I don't think that there would have been a lot of interest because it was something that had already happened a week ago. And then to suddenly change it to still photographs, I just felt that, there just wasn't much worth to being there. I felt like I really needed to rethink and retool my channel. I wrote them about it afterwards. I sent them an email. It was a little bit of an emotional email. I kept it professional, but it was still very emotional. They could tell I was upset. And I was like, I came out here at huge personal expense. And you guys are, there was really no warnings about this. I mean, I was told a week into the event, all of a sudden, like, don't film anything. And at the end of the day, they told me like this was in the fine print. It was there right before you sign up. It was in the notice that we put for people who wanted to sign up to be press. And I have to admit, I think that a little bit of it. I mean, it was totally my bad. I really should have read the fine print before I went in there. I just assumed that it wouldn't be that much of an issue. And it is what it is. It's a sad situation, but at the end of the day, if you really think about it, they told me that like if you just came in as a spectator, which I considered doing, but everything was sold out, that they couldn't stop you from filming. And so I was like, why, if me as press can't film and like getting a press credential, but then people who are spectating, in the stands can film. But, I also have to mention that I know someone who filmed at the 2018 Pyeongchang Olympics. They were just filming from their camera from the stands. Really poor quality video, nothing like a broadcast of an event. And it was taken down by the Olympics. So really, on YouTube, it really is up to the International Federation to say whether it's okay to put up any footage of the event, whether you're a spectator or not. So I think that's kind of a reality that I had to face, and that's kind of what is pushing me forward with retooling this channel, because there really isn't much of a space for a small independent creator like me to be covering events currently with audiovisual materials, if that makes any sense.
Part 4. Why aren't press credentials worth it anymore?
And so why aren't press credentials worth it? I've kind of made the decision personally that I'm not going to be really pursuing any press credentials at future events. Even if they do allow video, I think that, maybe if the time is right, if, everything aligns, but I don't think it's going to happen. And it's like, why? Well, I think I'm a little bit of academic, so I think about it from a historical perspective. It's like, why do press credentials exist? It's because back in the day, in the 20th century, when there was sports were coming up and there were more and more events, going on, people could only find out about it through the radio or the newspaper, right? Or you might not even have radio; you might only have the newspaper. And so the reason that the press person went to the event is so that they could report it and actually tell people what went on, because there wasn't broadcasts to everybody's phones all around the world. It was just like the reporter had to go there and actually record what was going on. It's like they put it in a journal. They were a journalist. And then, everything got put on TV, everything got put out all over the internet. And there's just, the reason people have press credentials now is either A, you film, or B, you interview the athletes. And so, I can't film. I am not a photographer. I don't have all the photographic equipment to really be a photographer. I don't think that that's really what I want to do with the channel either. And the thing with interviews is I love to interview these athletes, but I can't. They didn't have a lot of press conferences. I think that they only did if they won a medal. The athletes are very shy. I think that uh, the athletes don't want to really participate in any interviews because they could get in trouble if they participate in an interview with somebody coming in from outside and they say the wrong thing. So, even if I was able to get that interview, they would be so stiff. They would just be repeating what they thought that they were supposed to say, that I feel that the worth of the interview might be a little bit decreased. And I don't want to push these people into a corner. I don't want them to feel any more pressure than they already have. And I think anybody, wherever you might be coming from, whoever you are, whenever you're on in front of a camera, you always want to put in your best foot forward. And so that always leads to a little bit of tension. And although I'm very open to interviews in the future with DPRK, former DPRK athletes, current DPRK athletes, if something can come up, I think that press credentials is just not the way to do that. And then the other thing is it's a huge expense. When you get a press credential, yeah, you get free entry to the events. You get free Wi-Fi, you get free, bread and coffee. But aside from that, like, you have to pay for the flight, you have to pay for the hotel, you have to pay for the food. And for a small upcoming creator like me, that's just not feasible to invest right now. So that's why I'm not going to be doing any press credentials anytime soon, for better or for worse.
Part 5. What's working and what isn't working?
Okay, so with the DPRK Athletics channel, what's working and what's not working? What was not working was starting other social media platforms. I think the YouTube was getting a little bit of traction. We were getting a really strong audience. But I was also trying to do like Instagram and Blue Sky at the same time. And I feel that was a little bit of an overreach. It was too much at once because I'm an academic. I'm 34. I'm not really super in tune with the new social media platforms. I listen to a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube just because it's easy to have on when I'm like cleaning, cooking, on the subway, whatever. But I'm not super into like TikTok or Instagram or Blue Sky or Twitter or anything like that. And so I think that I really am going to try to establish an audience here first, because I was just getting no traction on Instagram or Blue Sky, just absolutely zero. And so I feel like maybe take it one at a time. Once the YouTube gets big enough, then we can kind of start to branch out to other platforms and kind of have an idea of what we want to put out there and what would kind of bring worth to those platforms, because you don't want to just keep regurgitating your YouTube content. You really want to bring new content specifically to that platform, and that's a tough thing to do. And I'm just going to kind of kick that can down the road and kind of just focus on YouTube for now. What else was working, I felt, was that when we do the deep dives, there's a lot less views, there's a lot less exposure, but there's a lot more engagement. I think more people subscribe from watching a deep dive, more people might leave a comment, more people might leave a like, and so that means that they're really more interested in what I'm saying. So we're gonna definitely keep on doing that, because that's really what keeps your core audience there. And I felt that the coverage, when I had a video from an event, or I was doing a quick recap of the event, those got more views, but they had a lot less retention. I think people who might just be searching for, what was going on, and they find out what's going on, they check in, they leave. They're not really interested in more of the deeper analysis. But what I learned from that is that we are also going to have to have a little bit of that lighter, more newsy, more current content in order to kind of bring people in. And then so that's kind of like, the candy to bring you in the door, I guess you could say. And then, kind of the meat and potatoes of the channel will be like the deep dives, the deeper analysis type of stuff. So that's kind of where we are with what's worked and what hasn't worked in the first couple weeks of starting this channel.
Part 6. The future of DPRK Athletics.
What is the future of DPRK Athletics, really? So like I've said, deep dives, meat and potatoes of the channel, I think that is where we are really going to shine because it allows my ability as an academic, someone who knows the DPRK as a journalist, to really kind of flourish and use all skills from all of those skill sets to kind of really bring a unique story and kind of give the full picture, at least as I am able to understand it, and kind of bring it to the world. So the deep dives, whether that be the history of a sport, whether that be history of a sporting club or the history of some sort of tournament. I have a lot of ideas lined up for this. They're the hardest videos to do, but they're definitely going to stay a part of the channel. And then we're going to have updates on current sporting news. It's not going to be so frequent, but I think like we're going to have a recap of the 2025 World Aquatics Championships, just a general recap once it's over. We're not going to have things necessarily as they break. Like if they go to a bigger event, you know, like there's a wrestling championship coming up, there's a weightlifting championship coming up. Every time they get a medal, if we had a video, I think it'd be a little bit repetitive. And I really don't know those sports like in depth enough to really kind of give you the nitty gritty of like, oh, here's why he wasn't lifting this weight, or here's why he wasn't beating this opponent. So we're going to kind of keep that more general, not so frequent, but those are really important for bringing in views, and they're kind of easier to do. So that's definitely going to stay. Athlete profiles. I think that this is really important because you really want to know who the people, the athletes are, you know, because you just see like a name, their gender, their date of birth, maybe their hometown, and that's almost it. You know, you generally know so little about these athletes, but if you look at domestic press, a lot of the times you can get a lot more details about who they are and how they've come to participate in athletics. And I think these stories are so important to tell. So I'm really going to try to do more of those. And I think that that's going to be really important for the mission of this channel. And, you know, it'll also be important for keeping that core audience interested. And we're also going to be exploring new avenues for this channel. So film analysis, I think, is something that it's going to take a lot more time. But again, I think that could bring in people who are interested in the film. It could also keep that core audience interested. I actually have a little bit of a film analysis background. I took a lot of film analysis courses in university, and I'm a huge fan of DPRK film. I've seen maybe 100, so I have a real familiarity with it. I've written papers about it. So that's another area I'd really like to dig into. Maybe not something so much as like summarizing a plot, because that's kind of boring. It's just like you could have just watched it yourself, but more about stuff, you know, like just kind of digging into, you know, what's interesting about the film. What does this film tell me about DPRK society? You know, like what are some cool moments in the film? Things like that. I'd also think that interviews could be a direction this channel could go in, especially once we get more traction and more exposure. If I have a couple thousand subscribers and then I go to, you know, Professor A or Professor B and I'm like, hey, you wrote a paper about this DPRK football, or you wrote a paper about this DPRK athlete, like, can you come onto my channel and do an interview? I think that that would also be really interesting, especially if we could get some Korean professors, we could get some Western professors, or even somebody who used to be an athlete in the DPRK, somebody who even currently is an athlete in the DPRK, if they'd be willing to do it, or someone who's done sporting exchange with the DPRK. There's a lot of areas we could kind of go into with that. So I feel that that's not something that I'm going to do immediately, just because I feel that when you're such a small channel, it's really hard to get that interview traction. But once we grow, I think that that's definitely a good direction to go in, and it'll really kind of enrich what we do here. Because if it's just me and you only get the perspective of me, then I think things might get a little bit stale. So thanks so much for staying here through all my rambling. I thought that people might enjoy a little bit more of this naturalistic content. Moving forward, we are going to have a lot of exciting things coming up. We've got the recap of the 2025 World Aquatics Championships. We are going to keep track of the DPRK as they go to the World International Wrestling Championships. The weightlifting championships are coming up in a couple of months. The DPRK football team, I think the women's under 17, is going to play in a World Cup again this year. That's also going to be very exciting. I think the next project I'm going to work on is the history of DPRK baseball, so hopefully that will be out in the next couple of days as well. And if you're really interested in this, I'd really encourage you to come into our Discord. We are small, it's kind of quiet so far, but we have a lot of people who know a lot about DPRK Athletics, and if you have any questions, if you're just excited about a new event that they're going to play in, if you just want to talk about something related to DPRK Athletics or even the DPRK in general, I encourage you to hop into the Discord. It is eventually, I think, going to be a really important source for people who exchange knowledge and everything. And that's why when I do these deep dives, I post the script for my video on my website, dprkathletics.com. It's so that if you want to research and really get into this, you could have all the sources that I use so that maybe you could also contribute to this field. And that's, my, objective isn't necessarily to get my views out there and to promote myself. I mean, that's a little bit about it, but it's also to really bring up this field and not just kind of lock all the information, behind some sort of paywall or something like that. So feel free to subscribe. Also, if you want to find out more about me, head on over to Yong Channel 2. It's a channel I'm going to be starting very soon. It's very much more casual. It doesn't have any specific topic that it really needs to follow. It's just kind of me, my adventures. Mostly it's going to be food reviews, but kind of any of my personal interests if I want to do just a video for fun, because I really do enjoy making these videos, and not everything in my life is about DPRK Athletics. Feel free to head on over there and check that out. That is all. Stay well.